Alright. Hey everyone, this is the Castle, and I'm doing a patch notes overview for May 11th of Revulsion. And I'm just gonna go over pretty much the patch notes. So anyway, the first thing on the patch notes that I mention is that three of four of the maps are now fully arted out. And there's only one level to, one starting level that remains to be arted out. That'll be the next one that I actually do, which will be number 4. So I'm going to show off the arted out version of uh, the second starting level. So let's see. Turn off all the fancy dev stuff. And there it is. So this level is now fully arted out, except for one thing I forgot to do, and it's just one asset, is I forgot to put these in and make sure that I had an asset for the curve, the curve block, I guess you'd call it. And also too, I haven't replaced all of these with black blocks, which don't have any poly count on them. These kind of have a little bit. So there's like a couple tiny steps that are still left in order for this level to be fully ready to go. Its auto map is fully ready to go. Like, it's in pretty good shape, and I'm pretty happy with the results so far. So with that said, this map is in the latest patch, in the current state that you are looking at right now. And now I'm just sort of flying through to kind of show everything. Maybe I could just slow the movement down so that it's not so, there we go, fancy. Fly down to the bottom. So once I'm actually done with fully arting out all of the maps, which that day is coming, man. Like probably by the end of the month, I'll be fully done with arting out everything. There's just going to be mostly just polish left over, character creation, a very simple character creation system that I want to do where you kind of build a character for you to actually play, which is more or less a glorified way to also have like multiple save games, because when you start a new character, it's technically a new save game. It'll be one of the last few features before I am actually genuinely going to be looking towards getting this out of early access. And I think that's going to be a pretty interesting prospect. And I'll have to see, weigh my options and see how that can actually go. But I think that I don't know. This will probably be something that I'll be talking about in a month and change from now. So anyway, with that said, got this art in here, properly showed off. Now, what's next on the list? Completely revised the HUD. All the different bars for health, mega health, and armor. Health, mega health, armor, and mega armor have been consolidated down to one visual display. So let me get into the test level where I can more easily show this in action. So let's see. I have this character here that I built just literally for the purpose of showing this off. Let me take my armor off. Now you'll notice that I have a little bit of overhealing here. That was because I unequipped my Hermes boots. Hermes boots increase your max health, so when you take them off, you end up with overhealing, and then it'll just sort of count down to what your actual amount is. So, watch when I equip body armor. Boom, I got 2 of these like shield thingies, right? And 2 of these shield thingies will begin filling up to a certain point. Now that's 245. I forget exactly how much at level 10 each one of these icons actually is, but I imagine it's probably around 260. for 2 of these shields. So it would be 130 health per shield, or 130 armor per shield. And that's basically how it works. So like every time I add another one, so this one's another 60, so this one will halfway fill up another shield. And this one's another 61, so this should give me an entirely new shield. So now this shield should fill up entirely. Let the armor regen actually, yeah, this should be almost the full, well, a little bit. So let's see what happens if I equip leg armor. Now leg armor actually had 177, so it gave me quite a bit. Now I have it letting my regen fill up my armor. My regen ran out. Let me grab some armor that actually provides regen. And now I should, yeah. Alright, so 544 is almost 4 shield icons. And that's how much armor I have. Now let's take something that gives me health and more armor. Something like the Hermes boots. Now let's see how much it gives me. I got 3 additional bars of health. And since health doesn't have a regen feature to it, unless I it gave me, actually, it didn't actually give me a full 3. It gave me 2 and like 10% or 20% on into a third bar. So I've thought about a few different ways of going about this. I've considered the idea of having it cut off at this point and, like, you know, not showing the full bar, stuff like that. I don't know what I want to do. One of the things to keep in mind about this though is that it's actually four different bars with different icons all displayed at one time. Right now you're just seeing regular health and regular armor being put on here. But you'll notice that if I use super buff, which gives me a ridiculous amount of health. Super buff's always been kind of known for this. Is, you know, I can't imagine what, I wonder what a legendary super buff, I should probably use that, would actually probably even give me more. It would probably take me all the way up to like here or something. It's actually possible right now to have so many icons if you have like a really good suit of gear at a high level, to have like icons go all the way across. It's not really a good thing that it would work that way at the moment, but it is kind of funny at the moment. So now if I grab a whole bunch of armor, I can over armor. Now these red ones are over armor, so it's literally 4 different bars all consolidated down into one bar. And I've tried a few different ways of displaying this. I think this one works the best, but it still needs some work. So yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised if, based on your guys' feedback and stuff like that, that I'll probably revise this again. But one of the things I really like about this though is that there's actually like a visual display whenever you equip something, that you actually see like an icon appear that shows that you actually have even more. Kind of neat. Maybe I could have like a little number or something like that, but I don't know. That's one of the other things too, is that I'm going to be making a lot of stuff optional. Like in the options menu, there's a game thing here. This will be game specific settings, and I'm going to have a lot of HUD stuff because that's what you guys have mentioned the most about the game so far. Just talking about things in general, is that the HUD, this or that, and like maybe I should make things optional, like make it so that like maybe you don't see health bars for smaller annoying enemies. Maybe you only see health bars for, you know, the bigger, tougher bad guys, or you could just turn them all off altogether. And instead of having like floating health bars above the character, you can actually just have the last monster that you damaged health bar sitting right here. I've seen, I think even Brutal Doom does that now, where you can actually see it like this one health bar sitting at the top of the screen with the name of the monster. That'll be in there, and that'll be optional. And you can like turn things on or off. Like uh, the options menu will actually I'll make it so that you can literally customize things. The only thing that probably won't be customizable is where everything goes. Otherwise, I'll probably like for the actual HUD itself, I'll put in as much as I can so that people who don't like floating text and stuff like that, and floating health bars and all that jazz, don't have to look at that stuff. They'll have other options. So anyway, items with cooldowns have an improved visual display. So if I use Orbital Strike now, there used to be a little white bar that sat on top of it. Was weird. Well, now the white bar is actually just part of the icon. So you'll see this now also becomes more transparent as it counts up, and then boom, you got it again. It'd be even cooler if there was like a little like ding, like maybe you would play a sound or something. Uh, that it's now ready to go again. So yeah, it's an improved visual display on your cooldowns and stuff. Weapons, when you fire, I changed there's no more flashy thing. So like if you're firing a weapon that's really fast or something like that, you don't have to actually. There's no white thing that's just like constantly going, showing the cooldown of the actual weapon itself. It's not necessary. I don't know why I had it in the first place. Like, it was a long time ago before a lot of those things were like the verbose style of the HUD came from when the game didn't have any graphics. Like literally, the only way you knew what weapon you had equipped was because of the icon. That was ages ago though. Um, the weapon cooldown flash is gone. Weapon. I moved the weapon magazine to a more visible location. So you'll notice right here is 27 of 30. You see the magazine of the weapon itself. Some weapons don't even show that. Like if it's a single shot weapon where you only have one bullet, it doesn't even show you the numbers. But in the case of an auto shotgun, there you go. Experience point bar, greatly simplified, placed at the bottom of the screen. So instead of having an experience point bar that's just like constantly up here at all times, there's a bar down here, which I guess under very specific circumstances, if it's not full at all, you can't even barely see it. It doesn't say as much information as it used to as well, but you'll actually watch the thing fill up. Let's see if I can kill this. Well, I'm level 10, so I don't remember. Hey, he's level 5, so he's not going to give me any experience points. Okay. I instinctively ran over and, like, looted his corpse. Um, oh yeah, that was one of the other things too. It doesn't display what level you are on the experience point bar. You have to actually go into your menu here, and I may even make it so that your experience points bar is displayed here, so you can have an option to just turn it off and you don't even see the damn thing, unless you look in your equipment menu. Like, so you don't even have to have it on your screen. Like, ultimately, it'll be possible to pretty much just hide everything here. If you don't want to look at it, it doesn't have to be there. Like, or whatever. Like maybe these things, maybe it's not visible when it's full or something. Like you just don't even see the numbers. Anyway, floating damage numbers display how effective an attack is. Plan is to disable floating text. Will come after I have done a full art pass. All right, so I've already kind of mentioned that um, just now, and I just reread it over again. But there'll be lots of options for like disabling like floating text and stuff. But for right now, the floating text that does appear will provide additional information about whether or not your attacks are going to be effective against what it is that you're fighting. So for example, if an enemy has armor, if an enemy actually has armor, ballistic weapons will be resisted. So you'll notice, you see the resistance? Let me get a little bit closer if I can. Alright. Even if I'm getting headshots. Well, as soon as I wore his armor down, it wasn't resisted anymore. So, like, anytime you're fighting a monster where he's resistant towards your type of damage. So, for example, let's take a look. I'm using the jetpack right now. Let's take a look at these guys right here. They're demons from, you know, they're hell beast type demon things. He's resistant to fire damage. I mean, he's literally made of fire. Yeah, like anytime, it still hurts him, you know. But then ballistic damage isn't, you know, he doesn't affected at all by ballistic damage. Like, I mean, he doesn't resist ballistic damage at all, is what I meant. See, resist. You don't, I mean, it's kind of a waste to sit there and use like a fire, like, don't pull out your flamethrower to fight those guys. And that's pretty much that. Like, so from now on, when you have the floating text enabled, you can tell if the gun that you're using is totally not effective against the bad guy that you're fighting. Like, you'll still be able to kill him, but like, you'll know that maybe you should, if you have another option, maybe you should be using something else instead. It's a little bit more verbose on that front. And again, remember, this can be turned off. I know a lot of people have talked about and complained about that, having any kind of floating text and stuff in a first-person shooter. They can't deal. I actually like the floating text, honestly, but I'm gonna make that stuff you know, optional. Enemies. Okay, so this has been one of the main points of feedback, and I've addressed it in this patch. This is really important. A lot of people have mentioned that it's impossible to dodge things. It's slower, you know. They find that the projectiles are too fast, that the enemies just, you know, they never know when the enemy's actually going to attack them. There's been a lot of talk about that sort of a thing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show like a list of things that I've done to address a lot of these issues on a map that actually has a pretty decent population of enemies. Okay, so the first thing is enemies do a subtle flash before they are about to attack you. I made this flash very, very, very hard to see. Like, you have to be looking for it to see it. You'll see it though, and I think a lot of people actually will. It's not that hard to see, but here, I'll show you. So one of the best enemies to test with is the pistol guys, right? So watch. You see it? Now, most of the enemies will actually do that kind of an indicator right before they're about to attack you. What the hell? Oh, he shot me. Okay. So, player movement and acceleration increased. Okay, well, not player movement, but the player acceleration. You'll notice now you accelerate far faster than you actually decelerate. And it's a pretty big jump. Maybe it's not enough. I'll have to get more feedback on this, but this was one of the bits of feedback that was actually presented right in the game discussion forum and stuff like that, talking about that. I guess it was Pizut who was giving this feedback, that if you have faster acceleration, it'll be easier for people to dodge the projectiles. So, take a look. Now, one of the things that people were saying is that these projectiles are completely impossible to dodge, and that you can't even tell when the monster's about to attack you. The thing is, though, is that now that you actually see when the attack is coming, and you have faster acceleration, you should be able to pretty much get around every shot. I don't want it to be too easy. So there's one additional change that I made, and this actually might be kind of controversial. I went through across the board and very, very slightly decreased the speed of every enemy projectile by a tiny bit. I feel like at this point in time now, if you're getting hit by the projectile, it's your fault. It means you just stood in front of it, or you moved in front of it. In fact, I could probably... Alright, so I'm hoping that I don't see any further feedback about the projectiles in the game being like too tough. Honestly, at this point in time, they're more dodgeable probably, because like I'll have somebody say, well, I could dodge every projectile in Doom or something like that. I'm like, yeah, but a lot of the enemies in Doom are fucking hit scan. You can't dodge that. Oh, they're not very accurate. Well, I mean, they're as accurate as they need to be. If this was a pistol guy from Doom, I'd probably be dead by now because he would have hit me like every other 2 or 3 shots. Whereas with this guy, it's completely up to me. I can dodge every single one of his attacks. And this is true for all of the enemies, really. Almost all of them. Some of the bigger bosses and stuff like that don't do this. Then again, they have much bigger tells as far as when an attack is actually going to happen. But right now, every single time that this guy has hit me has been my fault. I moved into it, I didn't dodge enough to the side. Yeah, see, like, that was... Like, why did I let him do that to me? So... Now, that's overall, that change is going to be a pretty big nerf to the game's overall difficulty, but... I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think it's putting a lot more on the player now to make sure that every shot is dodged. And if you're still getting hit, if you're still dying, if you're still riding your recall cooldown or anything like that, at this point, I don't know what I can say, you know. I can't make the game any easier than this. Like, it's already getting too easy. So with that said, armor regen functionality was completely broken. You've already seen many examples of it actually functioning right now. Easy helmet now has an equip sound. Grenades are now have a glowing effect on them. Oh yeah, you probably already seen it, but a lot of the grenades, you're dealing with an enemy. The grenade actually has like emissive bits on the actual bomb itself. I don't know why it's not bouncing. Sometimes it bounces, sometimes it doesn't. It's pretty good stuff. Sniper rifle base damage and accuracy improved. I buffed the sniper rifle, although personally I'm still having trouble using it on any of the harder fights. It's really great when you're moving forward through an area with lots of open space, though. Like almost nothing better than the sniper rifle, but you know, be damned if you're in an area like a trial fight and you're just fighting hordes of bad guys and the sniper rifle is just, I don't know, man. Double barrel shotgun now has more punch, does a lot more damage. Double barrel shotgun available on intro vending machine, so you can get it early on. Limited lives no longer resist in trial missions no matter what difficulty. So if I'm playing a trial mission, then there just won't be any limited lives. Even if I'm playing on Revulsion difficulty, it's pointless because it's only one level. You can abort it at any point in time. And what was happening was is people would not realize that they actually had limited lives, and they would run the trial. And one of the things about the trial is that there's not a whole lot of risk involved with you losing your stuff. Like you can keep running the trial over and over again, and eventually accumulate, loot and stuff like that. It's frankly, I mean, honestly, a little bit too good. Um, but at the moment, like it's kind of weird that like after you die 2 or 3 times, it's time to like abort the mission and then start it over again. Like, why bother? Also, too, I mean, you shouldn't be dying 2 or 3 times anyway. But like, whatever. So that's that. Um, some additional things that I'm going to be doing. I want to make sure that these zombies' eyes instead of their brains are going to be glowing. Zombies with face masks, well, they're actual face masks, like the armored zombies, like the security guards and stuff like that. They'll have their face masks actually glow, like their eyes are glowing behind the face mask or something like that. And that's about it. Yeah, for this, I'll probably have another patch on Monday to go over any of the things that I broke, or just general features and changes that I've done to the game since then. So hope you enjoyed the um, May 11th patch notes overview, and let me know what feedback you've got and all that.